Good afternoon and welcome everyone. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to our event today. My name is Daniel Cairns and I'm the Head of Enrolments here at FourthRev, working in true collaboration with Cambridge PACE. Today's topic, building a data science career. As you'll see, if we can go back one page there, as you'll see from the title, it's highly relevant for everyone in the audience, and we ask that you engage as much as possible. We've got some great guests that I'll certainly be asking questions of, but it is about you and informing yourself about the opportunities that careers in data science and with machine learning and AI present currently, and with a lens toward the future as well. So if you do have questions, please pop them in the Q&A function down the bottom. I'll be monitoring that as we go. And if you've got, we'll certainly have some assets in the chat function, some link outs and things like that, as well as a special offer at the end. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat though, where you're from, and it would endear us to know where across the world you may be as well. About the University of Cambridge Professional and Continuing Education and FourthRev, just before we get started with the panel and the program, the Data Science with Machine Learning and Artificial Intelligence Career Accelerator. Launched in 2023, the Career Accelerator blends academic rigor with real-world application, connecting learners to employer design projects from organisations such as Bank of England, Nielsen Databook, Inchcape Study Group, and Pure Gym. It was a co-designed process between the university and industry to address one critical challenge. How do we prepare professionals to work with data and AI in a way that delivers real business impact? I can't stress that highly enough. Employers were challenged with the highly technical recruits that they were having without the business application skills. So this covers both. This is a true blend of academic rigor yet industry relevance, all designed around FourthRev's philosophy of career education for career impact, helping you go further faster. That coupled with the benefit of a career coach guiding you through both during and post the program to enable your career outcome sooner is something I'll touch on as well. But it is that blend of academic rigor, the employer projects, a real portfolio-based approach to learning, so you actually have a productive element to your education, and obviously all back with the credibility of the University of Cambridge PACE, one of the most recognised universities and most respected universities in the world. More on that a little later, because it gives me great pleasure now to introduce our esteemed panel. Unfortunately, Dr. Russell Hunter was called away on work assignment today, but it is my great pleasure to still welcome Diwakar and Kate to today's session. Welcome both. Hello, Kate. How are you? Great to see you again.
I'm very good, thank you. Very good.
Wonderful. I might get, while Diwakar comes online, I might get you to introduce yourself for the benefit of the audience, please.
Yes, my name is Kate McDermott. I'm a director at Omnis Partners. We are a specialist AI product and data recruitment consultancy. I have spent nearly 20 years in broad data recruitment, so covering largely analytics and data science, and then more recently have pivoted, like most of the industry, to focus on AI. And as I say, I work with a number of colleagues that work across supporting positions in product and AI infrastructure and engineering.
Brilliant. Looking so forward to your insights. It's amazing already just in the short discussion we've had, the expertise that you bring. Diwakar, are you able to switch on your camera there?
Of course. Thanks.
Wonderful.
Yeah, welcome everyone. Hi, hopefully you can see the video. I'm Diwakar Patwal. I'm currently VP of Data and AI at a fintech called Thread. My background has been in data science for over 20 years now, right? We used to call it advanced analytics at that point. It turned to data science, and now it's mostly about Gen AI and AI-led initiatives. So I've experience across finance, fintech, e-commerce, different three different industries, but predominantly in advanced analytics and now AI. So I'm one of the industry mentors session at this program PACE that Daniel mentioned, and I try to share with the learners the perspective from the industry, the use cases, and the real world challenges with data science.
And that is so critical to the cornerstone of what this is, as I mentioned at the start, and as we'll get into. I've got some questions for the panel that we'll go through, and we'll provide the audience also with an overview of some of the industry insights and the like as well. Just a reminder for everyone as we go, it is about you, invest in your time as well. So if you do have any questions for Kate or Divarka, please pop them in the Q&A. Let's frame this, I guess, the opportunity and the demand. So companies across industries, be it healthcare, fintech, e-commerce, as you mentioned, are looking for skilled data professionals. The good news, the demand for data scientists far outstrips supply, making this a fantastic time to invest in your skills. As you can see there, 10x more growth than the national average across all occupations, 103K per year is a typical data science-based salary, and 80% of the fastest growing roles in the world are in data, and particularly the development of AI also. We're also seeing a major shift in the rise of large language models and generative AI, as well as agentic. Companies now expect data scientists to know, use, fine-tune and integrate AI models into their workflows, not just understanding and basics. According to the UK Parliament's research briefing, data science skills in the UK workforce, there were potentially at least 178,000 unfilled data roles in the UK, reflecting a serious supply-demand gap. I've got some questions for the panel based off that intro as well. Divarka, first, your work at the intersection, as you just outlined, of theory and real-world application, how has the explosion of AI reshaped what companies now expect from data professionals, do you feel?
Yeah, I think last 3 years have been, very critical, right? And change in direction, as Kate mentioned as well. So in terms of the demand, obviously, previously as well, for last 10, 15 years, the data science was demanded, but predominantly the use cases were driven by, if you imagine, some, heads of the departments, right? For example, head of sales or head of marketing will be driving, spending money on this, on data science projects. So the immediate shift in demand that we are seeing are now coming from executives and board, right? It's not coming from just heads of departments, head of sales or marketing, head of product. It's not even coming from executives, right? Like CXOs, your CEO, COOs. The board is asking for, what are you doing about AI, right? To our execs, our CEO. And then it comes down, right? So you can imagine the seriousness at the board level, because they fund a, high paced and large transformation projects. Okay, so what that means is, one, obviously, apart from the large scale of budget and budgets available, as well as the seriousness for the organization available, it also means the visibility, right? So whatever we deliver in terms of the AI, it's not going to be just sitting in the POC in individual departments. It is visible to the execs and the board, right? And that's a great way to actually start building and creating impact in an organization when it's so clearly visible. So I think that's the change I see in last few years versus what has happened over 10, 15 years.
Brilliant insight. Thank you, Kylie. And for you, Kate, advising companies every day on the hire and structure of AI and data teams, what shifts are you seeing in what employers actually want from candidates as AI enters, I won't say the mainstream, but it certainly is more prevalent, obviously?
Yeah, it's changed over the last 10 months. So we've been privileged to partner with one particular large consulting firm. We've been building their agentic AI team across multiple regions globally, and the role profile has evolved since January. So initially we were looking for PhD research types, people that had also worked in a commercial environment, but people that could bring that ideation, that innovation to the table, that research-led mindset, and could start to build systems and products that hadn't been built before at scale. That was the kind of key focus. And then as we've built the team and the role profile has shifted to focus more on the underlying software engineering skills that complement that research-led approach, because we now need individuals that can not just architect, but can also deploy and orchestrate, particularly agentic AI systems. And the role profile has just shifted again. So now, I mean, the job titles vary, but now we're looking for kind of lead AI architects and then more generalist software engineers that can support those individuals as we start to scale the agentic AI systems within large enterprise. And as I touched on earlier, as a business, we cover product as well. And that market has been really slow for a few years, but we're now starting to see the emergence of the AI product manager, because that is critical in allowing these systems to scale across very large organizations. You need to manage that internally. So the appetite has changed, the understanding of what's relevant to your business has changed, but we're still so early on in this journey. And it really does depend on the business, and that isn't always dictated by size, as you might think. It depends on the nature of the organization and whether or not they feel having an internal team of AI engineers or architects or experts is the right option, or whether they might lean on a consulting partner. It might be a big four, it might be a boutique specialist AI consulting firm to support them in that AI adoption. But everybody, as Diwakar indicated, is having this conversation at board level. The options and the solutions are just different depending on the business. So, as I say, where we're trying to support our clients is by helping them to calibrate and shape what those initial hires need to look like. And it could be a very technical person, it could be a strategic consultancy type, somebody that's going to come in and advise.
Yeah, that's most interesting. We'll go on to the next slide, and just a reminder for anyone to pop your questions in the Q&A. I'll get to them at the end. And if we have more questions, or if we haven't had the time to cover anything, I'll stick around a little longer as well. Looking at the next slide, the skills gap in what employers want, it says there 82% of companies need machine learning expertise, with only about 12% satisfied with the available talent pool. So despite rising demand, employers are struggling to often find professionals with the right skills, particularly in areas such as machine learning, NLP and AI application, as Kate just mentioned as well. Many data science candidates can build a model, but fewer can clean that real world data, communicate findings, or deploy those agentic AI and solutions effectively. This program was designed with those gaps in mind and includes real employer feedback on what's missing through Diwakar's industry sessions, as well as the industry project. Which brings me to you, Diwakar. In your experience leading data and AI teams, which specific technical or communication skills are hardest to find when hiring, and why do you think that gap persists?
Yeah, I think technical skills are all you mentioned about Python, right? I think most people are aware of programming skills, whether that is Python, SQL, or R. That's obviously critical. Then apart from that is the algorithms, the main domain data science skill around machine learning, supervised machine learning, unsupervised, or a variety of other algorithms. I think apart from those two, what we look for when hiring in terms of still technical skill is how the understanding of data, right? So data cleaning, data reprocessing, that as it says in the slide. But apart from that, what are the how candidates have handled the real world challenges with data, right? That's another skill, probably underappreciated at times, but very, very valuable, right? So I think those are the three areas very critical for this role. I think beyond that, there are non-technical areas as well, like general problem solving capability, right? It's going to be very critical for data science going forward, as well as some of the aspects of AI are still evolving, and the problems are really unstructured, and the industry is still in transition, right? So these skills have been important, but ever so the problem solving skill becomes even more important going forward.
Exactly. And communicating across stakeholder teams, technical into non-technical, those sorts of things, those soft skills, as you've mentioned, as well as the technical. Kate, you're seeing hiring briefs, as you've mentioned, from a wide range of companies including large consulting firms. What common patterns or pain points are you hearing from employers who are trying to find the right data talent?
Yeah, I think it's very helpful to talk about broad data science, and under that umbrella will include AI. But within consulting, naturally you are looking for people that are able to operate in a client-facing environment and support businesses or stakeholders through that AI adoption journey, understand the art of what's possible for their business and what's appropriate, and then to work with perhaps more technical engineers to deliver or deploy solutions. But more broadly speaking, in the modern or the current data science kind of hiring market, a real theme that still exists is around being able to articulate the commercial value add that you're providing as a data science expert, whether you're talking about more generalist data scientist work or relating it to AI. And so what will differentiate you as a candidate is, as I say, being able to articulate the value creation piece. I think that's really important. There was so much overhiring that went on within data science post-COVID, and then a huge amount of layoffs, which are still happening. And as I say, the way you can differentiate yourself as an individual is being able to articulate or connect the work that you're doing to either a cost saving or a revenue generation aspect of the work that you're doing. So, you know, when we talk about what are good communication skills, that can be style, it can be, as Diwakar intimated, the problem-solving element. You know, individuals that can really demonstrate those skills in interview or on the job really will set you apart from perhaps deeply technical types who have, you know, serve another purpose within some organizations and perhaps might not be client or business facing. So it's always about the way that you connect the work that you're doing to the business that you're working for, and ensuring that you are ultimately delivering commercial value or solving a problem for an organization. And I think that's where candidates can fall down slightly.
That's a great point. Before I move on to the next slide as well, I'd like to ask the audience as well. We cater for generally, and I'll touch on the entry criteria and the like shortly for the program, but we cater for roughly 70% those looking to change careers into data-related roles, and 30% existing data professionals looking to add and future-proof their careers with new skills. Can you pop in the chat function, not the Q&A, in the Q&As for questions, the chat function, a simple, are you looking to change careers or advance? So just put change or advance. And even if you're looking to start your career, you can put start. So start, change or advance. What are you looking to do? And that will help us frame some of what we'll present in a moment as well. But portfolio-based learning, why it matters in today's job market. During the program, you'll work on 20 plus industry relevant projects set by our industry partners such as Pure Gym Study Group, Nelson Book Data, and many, many others, coupled with that final 6-week employer project that I'll frame a little bit more deeply later. Set and led by the likes of organisations such as Bank of England, all contributing to a very impressive portfolio of work. Having a portfolio is a major differentiator for data scientists. Portfolio-based learning allows you to showcase real-world projects that reflect your competencies and, as you've both said, problem-solving abilities. This approach not only solidifies your knowledge, but also enhances your job prospects by mirroring the job environment you'll soon enter. The benefits on that are numerous. Obviously, employers look at portfolios, but it's also another thing when they're looking at many to make yours shine, and you'll certainly get a great deal of support in positioning your portfolio for maximum impact, as well as you'll read there with Zarev, who had an amazing portfolio. And then the employer partner project is a great demonstration. So your learning, your practical learning, and your projects that you submit, mini and major projects along the way, all contribute to your portfolio, but also then enables your participation at the end in the live industry facing project. So to frame that very quickly for the audience, you'll meet with, as a team of fellow students, 5 or 6 of you will meet with one of our employer partners. They'll present to you a real data-related challenge that they currently experience within their organisation, access to both publicly and privately held data sets in many cases. And as a team, and through the application of learning of those first 3 courses, you'll come up with innovative and tangible solutions to that scenario, presenting your recommendations back to that client in a consultancy style presentation at the end. You also have that body of work and the feedback that you receive from those employers in your as a piece to put in your portfolio, which is extremely powerful. Employers value that a great deal. Diwakar, from the program's perspective and your review of portfolios, or when you review portfolios and see examples from potential hires, what makes one stand out as industry ready?
Yeah, I think it's very critical question, right? When we are hiring people, looking at the exposure they have, right? Not just like from the commercial experience point of view, even if they are getting industry ready from the project experience point of view, right? So I focus on few things looking at the portfolio, right? First one is variety. If it reflects sufficiently in terms of whether they have touched critical areas of data science and AI, right? Supervised, unsupervised, NLP, computer vision. I mean, these are just examples, but it gives me a certain perspective that the skill is, or the exposure is wide enough, right? That said, we're not expecting them to have exposure to 10 different areas, right? Because they're still getting ready, still being prepared, but at least as a rule of thumb, 3 to 5 different areas, right? Rather than they having only experienced or exposure to supervised machine learning, right? So having 3 to 5 different areas within data science gives us a comfort, right? The candidate is industry ready. Because of the thing is, when you speak about commercial acumen, right? When you speak to the larger teams or lead data scientists, the ability to ask the right question is very critical in the business, right? And you can ask the right question to the product owners or the sponsors when you have slightly wider exposure to data science, right? That how can you solve a problem, right? So that's key. The second aspect is the depth as well. So it's not just the breadth. We also look for people who have picked up the topics, but they have gone into the depth of that subject, say supervised machine learning. And it's not just a superficial knowledge. They try to understand that why they apply their particular approach, right? What happens when that approach doesn't work? Have they thought about any alternate approaches? So that's why some of these projects in the program, or the way they can build these portfolios themselves as well, they should emphasize on that depth aspect as well. So I think those are the 2 key things as well. I think the last thing I would probably mention as well is is highlighting the insights from why their experience or their portfolio is relevant for real world experience, right? um, and it's key to highlight the exceptions that they have faced while building these portfolios, right? Or the challenges they have faced, whether these are like data challenges where the data science problem was very unique or hard or complex, where the solution you got, right, didn't have the right accuracy, for example, right? So any of there can be numerous challenges in a data science project, right? And earlier the candidates learn that and are able to articulate that, right? I think that becomes quite key from industry perspective.
Yep, absolutely. Hit it on the head there. And Kate, from your vantage point, do you see when you're obviously flooded with people listing tools and certifications, when you see a candidate with a genuine project portfolio, what signals tell you it's credible and commercially relevant?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, firstly, I'm a huge advocate for working with candidates that have a portfolio of skills, whether we're talking about technical skills, knowledge of tools, or across different industries, different sizes of businesses. It's kind of part of the language that I always use when I'm talking to candidates about how they can amplify or elevate their experience, or if I'm talking to them about a new job opportunity that I think might diversify their skills and experience. I just think it means that you are so valuable to an organization because they can point you in multiple directions. You can empathize with various business unit stakeholders, and you can provide context and understanding to the work that you're doing and therefore delivering. So if we use a CV from somebody that's working in the AI space at the moment, as you can imagine, probably 90% of the CVs I receive are written by AI. They're run through ChatGPT, and it's pretty evident. What I'm not looking for is a long list of 20 different technologies. It doesn't tell me anything about the depth of your experience with those tools. It doesn't tell me how you've applied those tools or techniques or methodologies to solve problems, to add value. So I mean, I've been saying this for 20 years, the language in a CV is what will make you stand out from the crowd. The way you articulate the work you have delivered, the application of that, how you as an individual have taken ownership, the commercial results. It really does mean in that 7 seconds that a recruiter, an internal talent manager or hiring manager is scanning your CV. That's what will make you stand out from the crowd. So I think in being able to articulate commercially the value you're adding as an AI expert, for example, or a broader data science expert, it is providing exactly that, project examples. I don't need to know about your BAU, your day-to-day. I don't want to read a job description on a CV. I don't want to hear about a job description in a conversation. I want to understand what the problem was, how you solved it, and why it mattered, and who you worked with. You want to very quickly get an understanding of the human being behind the work. And it's not easy. It isn't easy to get that onto a page. Not everybody has the skill to do that, but that's what people like myself are here to help with. AI can help with that to an extent. But I think it's really important, your CV is your marketing tool, and whether it's running through an ATS, a CV kind of system within a business, or it's coming to someone like myself or a line manager, you have a very limited amount of time to make an impact. And that's what you're looking to do with the information, is make it impactful and meaningful and relevant and accessible. So if it's too verbose and it's too dense in terms of the information, it's hard for people to digest that. We live in a short form content world. So I think it's good to be mindful of that.
This is very, very true. And in addition to that, thank you, Kate. I will touch on shortly the career coaching aspect of the program, enabling learners to do exactly that and to have someone to coach them through that process of making their transferable and new skills shine in the way that you've just described. And that can be for up to 18 months. And there's some questions relating to that I'll certainly come to. I've only got a couple more questions, and we'll get to some of the audience questions as well. Thank you for your engagement in my question earlier, and I've got another question in a moment. So the impact of industry-aligned certifications in data science, obviously the skilled validation, providing the edge in the job market, higher earning potential, and pathway to job-ready skills. Industry-aligned certifications offer that validation of your skills, especially when they come from such respected institutions such as the University of Cambridge. Research shows certifications can significantly enhance your career prospects as they signal to employers that you have relevant, recent also, because often the content is newer, and verified experience. Benefits include what I've mentioned there, those 4 points. Let us know in the chat, how do you feel, or do you feel certifications are essential for career advancement in data science, as this is, even though it is aimed at level 7 qualification learning, level 7 academic learning? Kate, from a recruitment perspective, how valuable are certifications today? Do they still signal credibility, or are employers focused on demonstrated capability, or a blend of both?
I certainly think they're still very important. I think seeing it's a green flag on a CV, or if we're talking to somebody that's invested in themselves, it demonstrates they have an interest in continuous learning, and that will likely translate into their day-to-day. I would imagine, and I'm sure Diwakar can pass comment on this, but during an interview situation, even if it's not evident from the words on a CV, if somebody can, again, translate the learnings from a course to their day-to-day job and demonstrate that they've proactively taken that opportunity to start to apply those learnings in a real world environment and create that opportunity for themselves, even if it's not a formal job change or promotion. I've worked with candidates that have done this. It can mean the difference between you securing that new position or gaining that promotion, because you yourself have created that pathway for learning and development. Actually, one of my closest friends has recently done that for herself. She's decided to do a master's, and she's translated that into her current role, and they've created a brand new position for her. So I think it's a really good example of how you can take ownership and responsibility for those learnings, and as I say, really translate them into your existing role, or demonstrate how you think you would apply those in a new position, and it can help you to segue into a new area.
Love it. Thank you ever so kindly, and thank you for your insight there as well. I'll give a quick overview of the program. I've touched on some of this already, but I just want everyone to be clear on the structure of the Career Accelerator, because it is most unique and it provides exactly what Kate just mentioned then as well. As I will refresh, we designed this both in collaboration with both the University of Cambridge and our industry partners. And industry want that practical application of learning in the real world, as we've mentioned, but also the ability to demonstrate the business impact of the technical. So whilst it is a highly technical program, even in the course unit topics there, you'll see there is a great focus on the application within business. So course 1, applying statistics and core data science techniques in business. Course 2, solving business problems with supervised learning. And both of them run for 6 weeks with a week's break in between. And before course 3, applying advanced data science techniques. That runs for 8 weeks. It's more intensive, and it is designed to take you from a base level and increase the technical aspects and rigor of the program as you go. That runs for 8 weeks, course 3, with a week's break in the middle as well. Before the employer project that I mentioned, it is so valuable, both from a networking perspective, a real world a practical application of learning perspective, and I think a demonstration of your value to a prospective employer, to demonstrate that you've done exactly what Kate just mentioned. You've taken the learning and applied it in a real world sense through the employer project. It's a fantastic and unique aspect of the Career Accelerator. I'll touch on the coaching because this is most important as well. You'll receive one-on-one career coaching from an executive career coach. This commences at the onboarding process, where you go through a rigorous goal setting process with the coach, and then they'll coach you once a month. You'll have one-on-one sessions with the coach, involving strategies, involving enhancing your profiles, be it through your CV, be it through LinkedIn presence, and be it through networking. And it's a very, very important point of job seeking as well. They'll also innovate how they support you. So if there's a group of learners that are struggling with networking, they'll have a career sprint, for example, where you'll come together, go away after a meeting hearing success stories and potentially failure stories or unsuccessful stories from a shared learning perspective, and take away to-dos. So my goal this week would be, from the learning of other learners, I'm going to reach out to 10 people on LinkedIn using this approach, for example, because it worked for that learner and the other approach didn't, or whatever it may be. So there are numerous ways in which the coaches support you, both individually with those one-on-one coaching sessions, but then there's collective or synchronous sessions for multiple learners as well. This includes 12 months of coaching. So our whole North Star metric at FourthRev is about learner outcomes. It's our North Star metric. When we first designed the Career Accelerator model back in 2021, we had the 6 months of career coaching, but very quickly realised that the value of the career coaching wasn't just during the program. It was especially beneficial for the first 6 months post the program, when you're actually applying for roles most likely. So we extended it by 6 months. So there's 12 months of one-on-one career coaching. And if you don't achieve your agreed intended outcome after that 12-month period, we'll extend it for another 6 months. So 18 months of one-on-one career coaching monthly, coupled with an employer project and a portfolio of demonstrable skills from a practical standpoint, with the backing of the University of Cambridge, is an amazing proposition for all. It is aimed at level 7 equivalent, non-credit bearing though, so it is a postgraduate designed program without being a qualification. But that's particularly relevant when supporting learners with their personal branding, such as your CV and LinkedIn profile. I have one or two last questions, as there's a number that we'll get to in the Q&A. Thank you. And just a reminder, if anyone else has a question, pop them in the Q&A. Diwakar, as someone leading data teams, what's your impression of graduates who've completed employer-led projects such as the one on the Career Accelerator? Do they come better prepared for real business problems?
Yeah, so I think most data science practitioners, right, at this level, to be ready for industry, yeah, I strongly feel that they have the right skill. I mentioned already, right, in terms of programming skills, in terms of overview of the different algorithms, the different data science approaches, the projects we mentioned about, right, the variety of the projects that they get exposure to, and they get a feedback on these projects here. And that's exactly what you need, right, in terms of building the foundation, right? Just to clearly highlight whether this program or some of you may be thinking about any other program, right, doing a full term masters as well, because I could see one of that question popping up in the window. That so whether you do a full time, whether you did do this program, these are the expectations, right? For you to be ready with with a good exposure across the spectrum of data science challenges, and how do you solve that, right? Plus the programming skills. So and I can't comment for the other programs, but in this particular program, the number of projects and the type of the projects which are covered, I'm very satisfied with the skills people will be gaining from those projects, right? And if I were to interview them from my organization, right, will find them highly fit for those kind of roles, right? So very happy with the program, right? As I said, and giving the early exposure to the real world experience. The only thing I can say that any program will not probably cover that is the commercial acumen, right? Which we try to build. So once people, or we try to interview them, right? It will be based on their other industry experience they have, not necessarily just the data science experience, right? But in terms of the program, in terms of building the foundation, these are the right individuals and learners who are ready to take on the data science challenges.
Love it. One of those that was able to demonstrate that in a practical sense recently with a true deeper relationship with their coach, actually obtained a recent outcome. And I can't mention the actual team, but I'll read it here. Learner land in his dream role after coaching. So a learner from this program recently succeeded in a dream job offer from a Formula One team after a long and unexpected process, starting with applying out of curiosity and going through, as you can imagine, multiple interviews for a new department within the team. It was our delight to hear that sort of a career outcome, but it was the coaches' way in which they portrayed their joy in announcing that as a career outcome, along with all of the others that we celebrate, is what it's all about for us and the career coaches, the value of the coaching. When we survey learners at the completion of a program, it's always the relevance of the content, the practical nature and the portfolio that resonates, and very close secondly is the value of that coaching that I've mentioned. A bit of an overview and we'll get to the audience questions. The next intake will sell out like the last one did. We limit the amount of learners that we can take to preserve the learner experience. We could open this up to many hundreds of learners all over the world. And while we have a global representation in the student cohort, we do cap our learner numbers, because if we were to have unlimited, it would mean, I guess, we'd have 20 people on a project team, thus diluting your roles and responsibilities. So the intakes do sell out. So the next one starts on the 2nd of February. The time commitment, and John, you've been very patient. I'm going to couple this with your question. 20 hours per week for 7 months. It is intensive. There's weeks breaks in between, but it is delivered with a blend of synchronous and asynchronous learning, meaning that There are live sessions with the Cambridge academics, Dr. Alexia and co, that deliver your module of that week in a live session. If you can't attend live, it is recorded. You can catch it up, and then they'll also host a drop-in Q&A later in that week. So 2 live sessions, and then fortnightly we've got the industry mentor session as well with Dwaka and other industry mentors, ensuring that relevance and that crossover between the academic underpinnings and the real world application remain. So the rest of the learning is asynchronous, meaning you choose when and how study fits in with your life. If you develop a very positive habit of doing some each day rather than none often and a lot on the weekends, you'll certainly develop a positive study habit. So John, a typical week rather than your question as to a typical day, I guess, because most people are working while they're doing the program, would be that on a Monday you get home enthused to do some study, you dive in and you do a couple of hours on a Monday evening. Tuesday you've got a live session with the academic during the lunchtime potentially. So you'll attend that or watch that on the commute home, for example. And again, you'll be enthused, you'll engage with other learners on the platform and get a few hours done there. Wednesday might be challenging, the middle of the week, it's a bit challenging, but and your partner may be wanting to start that next season of whatever it is on Netflix. Nothing worse than sitting there watching it with the study bug in the background saying you should be studying. So what you're best doing is showing up for 10 minutes, doing 10 minutes if it's that, and say, no, I'm too tired tonight, I'm not going to do anything, I'm actually going to spend some time with my partner. And that's fine. Or you do the 10 minutes and you dive into a study mode and you get another hour or 2. Thursday, again, of an evening, there'll be the live Q&A or the session with the industry mentor. Friday, you'll have a night off, and then Saturday and Sunday, you'll block out some time each of those days to get that done. It is rigorous. It is a commitment. There are sacrifices such as Netflix series that need to be put on hold, and communication with those around you that may be impacted from your commitment, both in an inspiring way, but also need to be understanding of your commitment to yourself, and if it is for the betterment of the family or whatnot as well. As you know, as you can see, the support that I've already mentioned, there's the addition of the industry mentors, the Cambridge academics delivering, you've got a success manager and a career coach, all working towards your success in developing your portfolio for you to enable your intended career outcomes sooner. The fees are £8,395. All of that coaching is included, and there's a concession for upfront if you pay upfront, or we do offer interest-free payment plans as well. So all of that is covered. I might just touch on the entry criteria, unless that's on the next slide. No, I'll touch on that in a moment. Sorry, 1 second. Actually, I will touch on the entry criteria now. It fits better. So if we can jump ahead 2 slides. It is an advanced data science program with there are prerequisites before enrolling. These include having an undergraduate degree that features at least 1 unit of quantitative studies, such as mathematics or statistics, you know what they are. At least 1 year of work experience in a professional role exposed to data in some form. It doesn't need to be an analyst role. It could be a sales role, as we've said. It could be a pharmacist exposed to for data. It could be any number of roles, any role that has an exposure to data in a business sense. IELTS, obviously, with a score of 7 with no less than 7. And there are foundational technical skills in Python required. So the intent here is to have you learning data science from day one, not the basics of Python. And Romans asked the question, in our frequently asked questions, we mention a short technical test in to show enough skill on this topic. As a software engineer in the gaming industry, I might not fit these data science skills yet. Is there a way to be prepared for that test, or a list of topics that will be tested? Yes, certainly. The libraries, so the Python skills required, center around the libraries of NumPy and Pandas with some visualization. If you don't have those skills, we've got the time between now and February to support you. The process is that you apply, you receive an offer, and we give you a free Python prep program. That will enable you to develop the foundational skills to enable a successful commencement, but also pass the short technical self-assessment that is required. The self-assessment is just for your benefit to understand that you're ready to make that test, the commencement, and it involves 10 multiple choice and 3 basic coding questions using Python. Your enrolment advisor is best placed to support that, but we will ensure that you get access to those Python resources should you need them. And if you're not sure, you can take the self-assessment even if you have the Python skills, just to know where you're at as well. I hope that clears up the entry criteria. If we go, where were we? We go back one slide. And this ties in with the next question I've got from Zine in the chat as well. How do we provide support to help us find a job after the course? So the program supports you in a number of ways and your career goals: dedicated career coaching, CV, interview prep, LinkedIn branding. I went through all that coaching before. Your one-to-one success manager guidance as well, ensuring that anything course related, they're there to assist you with. Networking and employer connections, so you will be exposed to amazing networking opportunities here at Mattingley Hall twice during the Career Accelerator. And it was a highlight for me to go there earlier this year to see the Cambridge PACE team, as that's where they're headquartered, but also to see, and you'll see it on LinkedIn, on our socials as well, the events where students attend, meet each other, meet the academics, meet the industry partners and mentors, as well as your networking with the employer partners that we have for the projects as well. So networking is a really big part of that. So there's been a lot of support in helping you develop the profile, but also the job seeking skills, or the career skills that the coach will help you with for up to 18 months. I'm going to touch on more questions. Anonymous has said, I'm looking for a career change and considering this course or master's in data science and AI, would a full master's be respected more by employers? What are the pros and cons I should consider given the costs are not too dissimilar? I think that's a fantastic question, and I'm going to defer somewhat to Kate on her thoughts on this, as well as the recruitment expert. I think there's benefits to both, but from the employer's perspective who were involved in the design of this program, it's people like Dewaka and others have an eye on the graduates, knowing that they're obtaining the skills that they're looking for because of what we've outlined already. Also, how do I term this diplomatically? The up to the minute relevance, not the program that was designed some time ago, which in today's age or today's fast-paced environment changes very quickly. Kate, anything to add to that question from the audience?
Yeah, it's a really good point, actually. I hadn't thought about that, the course content and how up to date it is. I'm sure they're updated all the time. But yes, I think if we think about candidates that may be trying to transition from, mid-career or kind of, a third of the way through their career from one space into another, this is a really a speedy way to supplement your experience, to gain real-world connections with people like Dewaka, with people in perhaps at a similar life stage or career stage. And again, you can, supplement your current work with ongoing learning. And I think this is designed specifically, isn't it, for people that are trying to make a change in their career, whereas a master's degree may be a personal, it might be led by personal interest, it might be relevant to your existing role, but this is specifically designed to help you either accelerate your early part of your career or make a transitional change. So I think that's probably the key difference, and I'm sure that employers, hiring managers will recognize that. But there is equal value in both, and I think a lot of it depends on, especially if you're kind of early part or midway through or later on in your career, it depends on what you've done up until that point. As a recruiter, generally speaking, I'm always looking at the sum of somebody's experience, what they've studied, where they've studied, their interests outside of work, how they present themselves. There's just lots of different things that you consider when you're interviewing candidates and assessing them for a role. So luckily, I think the general job market these days, particularly post-COVID is really quite complex. It's less prescriptive in a lot of ways, and there is a huge amount of value that people can bring to the table through softer skills, through ongoing learning, as well as the kind of technical capabilities that employers might be looking for. So I genuinely wouldn't say that there is more value placed on one versus the other. I think foundational learning is important. I do still think that degrees are perceived, in a certain way, certainly in the UK market, but I think ongoing continuous learning in whatever form that might be, but particularly if it's associated with a leading educational institution like Cambridge, will hold a lot of weight.
Exactly. Let's get through some of the additional questions, and just a reminder to pop them in the Q&A, as that's where I'm looking currently. Emma has been patient and has also asked, she wants to find work in AI. With the market the way it is, there's so many applicants and I'm not hearing anything back. My commercial experience is program management and I'm gaining credentials in AI. Roles all ask for experience in AI, but how can I get it? Will these projects flip my experience? Absolutely, Emma, and alongside with the coaching, but I again will defer to Kate in that intersection of academic learning and foundational learning all the way through to advanced computer science techniques, but real world application of learning, the value thereof.
Yeah, I think again, it's, making sure that you really pitch the project work that you've got access to, particularly on this course, and that you've completed, working with real world industry partners, position that at the forefront, make sure that's the leading information that employers are going to see when they're reviewing your CV or when they're talking to you. I quite often will talk to candidates who want to make a shift and a change in their career about finding roles, businesses, opportunities, people that give you a segue into your ultimate career space that you want to be in. It's not always really straightforward transactional move that you can make, and it might take a little bit longer, to actually end up in the preferred space that you want to be in, but it's a journey. So I encourage people to find businesses that support that can afford to support that as well. It might be a larger organization, so they have the luxury of being able to bring people in that need upskilling or need some time to find their way into that new space. Or it might be a smaller business that values your previous experience in another life and actually wants to go on that journey with you. So I think it's really important to strategically target businesses that you think will value your overall profile as it is and where you want it to go.
Absolutely. And again, I harp on it, but that's the value of having a career coach alongside. And they might turn around and say, no, that job's not for you, for exactly the reasons that Kate, or the opposite of what Kate just said. Your intended outcome, even your values, for example, may not align, and that's just as valuable in going for the right role as it is not applying for the ones that aren't going to align. Someone's asked here, my background includes hands-on experience in AI programming and computer science, although I don't hold a university degree yet. Could you clarify how this program supports job placement for candidates like me? We don't have job placements, whoever that may be, asking the question, but we enable every tool and networking opportunity to enable you to maybe even lift the eyes a little toward the horizon rather than lower down, if I can term it that way, because of the content being so not only relevant but advanced and technical in its application. It's not about job placement, it's about providing you the tools to find the right role faster, hence the term Career Accelerator as well. It's what it's all about. The content, the design of the program, the coaching, and the industry mentors such as Diwaka, all assisting you to obtain that intended outcome sooner. Zine's asked here, without an IELTS certificate, can we join the course? Yes, absolutely. If you have requisite professional experience in English, we can consider that. Please, if you haven't yet, book a time with your enrolment advisor. They will be able to assist you as well. Someone's asked, how does the course help someone in an engineering electrical power project management profession? Same as it's helped hundreds of learners previously from all sorts of backgrounds, from non-technical backgrounds to highly technical backgrounds, and enable a career transition through exactly what we've spoken about, developing and taking you on that learning journey from entry level to data scientists within that 7 months of learning, 8, 9 months of course length with the breaks and the supports in place enabling that. So yeah, highly beneficial in that regard. I'm sure you would value that and make a great candidate as well. Right, someone else has asked here. Right now, I'm starting an intensive self-taught data engineering boot camp. Self-taught. I don't have a university degree, but I'm fully committed to entering the tech industry. Can I still apply to the PACE program? Yes, absolutely. Again, speak with your enrolment advisor regarding your individual circumstances. We value the conversations that we have with each and every inquiry that we have and lead that we discuss their individual circumstances with. It isn't, are you good enough to enter this program? It's an open conversation about what it is you're striving to achieve and if this aligns with your intended outcomes and demonstrating how that is. It was remiss of me to not touch on it earlier. We do want to make this accessible for people from a cost perspective as well. We understand it's a significant investment. However, we know the return on investment is there for you. So I didn't mention it before, but we do offer interest-free payment plans. A reminder that fees are £8,395 with up to 18 months of career coaching included. A £500 fee concession if you are in a position to pay up front, or we can offer you 6 and 9 month payment plans with no interest, or for people needing longer, we do have a finance provider in StepX. Through a finance application can provide a 24-month payment plan with a small £20 application fee, but again, no interest associated with that. Sorry for not mentioning that one either earlier, sorry. So yes, you can certainly apply. Last question, and I'm happy to stick around if people want more information. Wondering if there's a module on data governance, please. Data governance is a big part of data science, so it is covered in numerous ways through multiple topics. It's not an actual module, but it is woven into modules within a number of the 3 courses. So it's critical. Yes, there is data governance and ethics included. Most important in today's world. We're at time. So I just wanted to say firstly to the audience, the next step is most important. For those that do apply before the end of this week, we have a limited amount of additional coaching sessions available. If you apply before the end of this week and are successful and pay your deposit, we will give you 2 additional coaching sessions before the commencement of the program in February to get your career visions and goal setting processes are underway and start with the right foot forward in February then. Thank you for attending from the audience. I'll thank my esteemed panel next as well, but it is about making the next step decision. You've committed to yourself today by attending. You've heard from Kate, you've heard from Diwakar. We'll give you many more inspiring stories, and there is a link to another webinar that we're hosting that will feature a current or graduate learner and speaking about their career outcome. So do take that next step. If you haven't yet applied, please do so. If you haven't yet spoken to your enrolment advisor, please book a time. They're there to assist you. Thank you to our events team in the background, but a great and very special thank you to both Kate and Diwakar. Your insights have been inspiring for all of us, I'm sure. Myself especially, I learn something every time I listen to you both, and your time is very much appreciated from us all.
Our pleasure.
And that's it for me. Thank you all. Thank you to the team. We look forward to welcoming, supporting, and most of all, celebrating your career success from the Career Accelerator in collaboration with Cambridge PACE. And I think I've done it to the minute in terms of the hour. So have a great day all. Take that next step. Thank you once again. Cheerio.
Thanks. Bye.